Imagine your child, years from now, as an adult. They're sitting with a friend, and the friend asks, "What was your childhood like?" Now imagine your child saying, "Oh, we had a nice house. I had all the toys I wanted. My parents worked hard for me, but I don't know, sometimes I felt like they didn't really know me." That sentence is what I call the parenting gap. It's not about whether you love your children. It's not about whether you sacrifice for them, because I know you do. The parenting gap is about the space between what you're giving and what they're actually receiving. You see, as parents, we have a mental list of what we think our kids need. A safe home. Good food. Education. Protection from harm. And yes, all of these are important. But here's the thing, your child could have all of those things, yet still feel emotionally undernourished. I've met adults who grew up with everything: the gadgets, the private schools, the vacations, yet when they talk about childhood, their voice cracks as they say, "I would have traded all that for more time with my dad." And I've met children who live in modest homes with very little money, but their eyes light up as they say, "My mom makes me feel like the most important person in the world." This is why we need to talk about the parenting gap. Because if we don't recognize it, we can spend years giving love in the wrong language and never realize our child was quietly longing for something else all along. So today we will be looking into different points. Point 1, the story that opened my eyes. I want to start with a story that still sits heavy in my heart. A few years ago, I knew a teenage girl, let's call her Tasha. Her father was a hardworking man. He wasn't mean, he wasn't absent, he just believed that being a good father meant providing. He worked 2 jobs, often coming home late. On weekends, he'd catch up on chores or rest. He thought, "I'm doing this so my daughter will never lack what I lacked." On her 15th birthday, he surprised her with the newest phone on the market. She smiled, said thank you, hugged him. He thought he had nailed it. Later, when her mom asked if she liked her gift, Tasha said something that broke my heart: "I like the phone, but I just wish Dad could have spent the day with me." You see, in his mind, the phone was the gift. But in her mind, his time was the gift. That's the parenting gap, when our love doesn't land the way we intended. This story taught me that providing and connecting are not the same thing. Providing meets needs. Connecting meets hearts. And a child can survive with needs met, but they only truly thrive when their heart is nourished too. Point 2, the well-meaning mistake we all make. We all have a tendency to parent based on our own childhood experiences. If you grew up with very little, you want your kids to have more. If you grew up with strict parents, you might want to be more lenient. If you grew up feeling lonely, you might try to be your child's best friend. But here's the tricky part: sometimes, while trying to give our children what we missed, we forget to give them what they need right now. I knew a man who never had new clothes as a child. So as a father, he made sure his kids always had the newest sneakers, the best backpacks, the most stylish outfits. And yet, years later, his daughter told him, "I didn't care about the clothes, Dad, I just wanted you to watch my school plays." We do this because we equate love with what we value, not always what they value. It's not malicious. It's not neglect. It's simply a mismatch. And unless we become intentional about checking in with our children, asking, observing, and listening, we will keep pouring love into the wrong cup. Point 3, what we think they need. Let's be honest, here's what many of us believe deep down: my job is to fix all my child's problems. If they struggle, we swoop in. If they fail, we correct it. But here's the issue: resilience isn't built in comfort. It's built in struggle. My child should always be busy and productive. We load their schedules with sports, lessons, tutoring, music, coding classes. We tell ourselves, "I'm preparing them for the future." But in the process, we sometimes rob them of the slow, boring moments that fuel imagination and self-discovery. My child should always be happy. We avoid hard conversations and uncomfortable truths because we want to protect them from sadness. But when life eventually throws a curveball, they won't know how to handle it, because they never had a safe space to practice dealing with hard emotions. Scenario example, a child comes home upset because their best friend didn't invite them to a party. Parent reaction 1, it's okay, don't feel bad. Let's buy you a new game instead. Parent reaction 2, that must hurt. I'm here if you want to talk about it. The first one soothes the pain temporarily. The second one teaches the child how to process emotions, which is a lifelong skill. Point 4. What they actually want. If you sit down and ask children, and I mean really ask, what makes you feel loved by your parents? Their answers are rarely about money or material things. You hear things like, when they look at me when I talk. When they laugh with me. When they don't rush me. When they don't check their phone while we're together. They want presence over perfection. They want your eyes, your ears, your undivided attention, even for just a few minutes at a time. Story example, one boy told me his favorite part of the day was when his dad drove him to school. Not because of the drive itself, but because his dad would turn off the radio and ask, "So, what's your plan for making today great?" That small, daily question made him feel important. When you think about it, the things children treasure most are often small things repeated consistently. Point 5. Why the parenting gap exists. There are 3 main reasons. 1. Distraction. We live in a world of constant pings, notifications, and noise. And it's not just kids who get distracted, we do too. 2. Assumption. We assume we know what our kids want because we're the parent. But love is only love when it's received in the way the other person values it. 3. Busyness. We're juggling work, bills, and responsibilities. Emotional availability can feel like a luxury, but it's actually a necessity. And here's the sobering part, children don't always tell us directly that they feel the gap. Sometimes, it only shows up in subtle ways. Point 6. Strategies for intentional parenting in a distracted world. No, it's not enough to just say, I want to be a present parent. We must translate that desire into intentional actions. And here's where many parents get stuck. They think being present means they must be with their kids every second of the day. But presence is not about constant physical proximity. It's about the quality of your engagement when you are together. Let me break down some practical strategies that can help. 1. Create tech-free zones and times. In our homes, we need to reclaim spaces and moments where technology does not intrude. For example, dinner time, no phones, no TV, just conversation. Bedrooms, a device-free sanctuary, especially for children, to protect their mental rest. School drop-off and pick-up, use those minutes for small but meaningful conversations. You'd be amazed at how much your children will open up when they're not competing with a screen for your attention. 2. Make eye contact. Sounds simple, right? But in today's fast-paced life, it's becoming rare. When your child is talking to you, pause whatever you're doing, look at them in the eyes, and let your body language say, "You matter to me." Even a 5-minute, fully engaged conversation can be more valuable than an entire day spent half distracted. 3. Schedule one-on-one time. Every child in your home is unique. They need moments where they feel you're fully theirs, not sharing your attention with siblings, work, or chores. It could be a Saturday morning walk with one child, a bedtime chat with another, baking together, playing board games, or even washing the car side by side. These moments build memories and deepen bonds. 4. Model the behavior you expect. Children are watching you more than they are listening to you. If you want them to limit their screen time, let them see you putting your own phone down. If you want them to value face-to-face conversations, show them you prioritize it. 5. Protect family traditions. In a world where everything changes so quickly, traditions anchor children's sense of belonging. It could be Friday night pizza, Sunday afternoon storytelling, or yearly birthday rituals. These repetitive, Intentional activities give them a sense of stability in a noisy world. Here's the truth: the distractions will always be there. The question is, will your connection with your children survive them? That will only happen if you are intentional about it. Point 7. The cost of losing connection and how to rebuild it. We've talked about the how of staying connected, but let's pause for a moment to really understand the cost of losing that connection with our children. When a child grows up feeling unseen, unheard, or emotionally distant from their parents, the effects don't just disappear when they turn 18. They carry it into adulthood, into relationships, workplaces, even into how they one day raise their own kids. The emotional price tag. Low self-worth. When they rarely feel truly known, they may believe they aren't worth knowing. Attachment struggles. They may have difficulty forming secure, trusting relationships. Seeking validation elsewhere, social media, peer pressure, or unhealthy relationships can become substitutes for parental affirmation.